I'm about to show you step by step how to write a high converting video sales letter for your agency, coaching, or consulting business. And this is the same VSL framework that I've used to help multiple offers scale to $1 million plus per year. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to be walking you through an actual VSL I wrote for a paid client that took their close rate, call to close, from around 13% to upwards of 30%. So it more than doubled their revenue every single month, and now they're on track to do $1.2 million this year. And when you understand how to write a high converting VSL the right way, the prospects coming into your call fully sold on the mechanism, educated on your service, and full of trust, already ready to buy. They just need to understand how implementation would actually look for in their instance. So to make this video even more valuable, I'm going to give you the exact copy word for word I wrote for my client so that you can take it, break it down, and then put it back together for your own offer instead of having to figure out how to write one from just structures. So sit back, get ready to take some notes, and in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to help you write the best VSL you've ever written. All right, so welcome to the actual Google Doc. What I've basically done here is I've taken each section of the VSL and then I've added in bold above it what I'm doing and why it works, just so you can have an actual idea of, okay, for this section of the VSL, here's the messaging I'm trying to get across, here's the goal I'm actually working towards. So at the start of your VSL, you always want to do a call out, right? A lot of people have this idea that like drop off at the beginning of a VSL is bad, and while to a degree it is, if you have a really, really high drop off, it means that there's generally incongruency between your messaging on the ad or the content to the VSL and the landing page. You should be getting relatively significant drop off, especially if you have a more niche audience, because you should be calling out a pain point in an audience that's specific and has a specific goal, because that's the person you can help, and anybody other than that shouldn't be watching your video. So it's not about getting every single person to buy, it's about getting the right people to book calls and eventually buy, right? So that's why the call out's important. That's going to make sure that the right people are dropping off and the correct people stay. You're also going to be calling out what they're looking for in the transformation that you can bring them, as well as your claim and your timeline, which is what you can actually do for them and how long that's going to take, right? Then early in the actual VSL, I always like to differentiate my offer from a different offer in the space or other offers in the space, because what happens with that is people will come in, they've probably seen other VSLs, they've probably seen other ads, and they need to understand why your mechanism is the most efficient way to get to whatever goal they're trying to hit, right? If you just sound like everything else, then they're going to look for the cheapest option, and it's just a competition on price, right? Then emphasizing the issues and specifics of their current situation. What this does is it basically just shows an understanding of their market and their industry, right? If you can call out specific instances that they relate to, one, they're going to stay longer because they're like, wow, this guy actually knows what it, understands my pain, but also you know what you're talking about, which gives more credibility. So you can see that here, we're calling out people that are business owners or are looking to start a business and need consistent funding for their business. We say the number, and then we say, if that's something you need, we'll install this 100% customized, done for you solution in your business in this timeline, which will allow you to do this, right? Then differentiating, right? We're not like these other companies, right? This 10% back-end company or MCA lenders are very common initial solutions people will try, but you rely on them always, and they're very expensive, right? And then we're going to use a little bit of like data to back our point, right? So in the actual VSL, and you'll see later in this doc, I have like two sections highlighted in green where I show like, okay, what's popping up. This is really just the transcript of what Patrick is saying for this VSL. But you also want things popping up on screen. So for the majority of it, it's just slides. But then you can have like little data points, like a Google search box with like the search summary that you'll see if you look something up. That's a really good thing to show, because people are like, okay, I trust Google. This is like an actual like legit study, and then you tie the study into how your product helps them, right? And so this is what we're doing here. We're using this data that 90% of businesses fail, not because it's a bad idea, but because they run out of resources. And what do we solve? We solve the resource issue. And then this explains why it's difficult to grow. So then we're getting into the transition into more of the body. Now, first part of the VSL is probably the most important part. But the body is important too, because ideally your target audience is going to be watching through the whole thing. Now, there's different structures you can do. Some people don't even let them book until they've watched the entire VSL. Generally, I try and give them the option to book, but I recommend they watch the VSL, and then I'll give them the opportunity to watch the VSL at other points throughout the timeline, right? Before they actually hop on that call. Like, say, hey, our best clients watch this video. Hey, I recommend you watch this video, right? In case they haven't seen it already. Then we're going to dive into, in this next section, the solution, the story of how you found it, your unique mechanism, and an overview of why your unique mechanism works and what that actually brings around, right? So we're literally saying, what's the solution? Well, after this, sort of journey I went through to find it, this is the solution we found, and here's what it does. Here's the name of it. Capital stacking is the mechanism, right? That's our name for it. And then what does this actually look like? Basically, what this section is talking about is once they're on board, what does the sort of service actually look like for them, right? Basically, what we're saying is you're getting connected with top-ranked bankers, and you're also getting optimized for that institution's criteria, right? We're showing the sort of science behind it, if you will, and just showing them what that experience is actually like. Then how this has helped them, right? This is how the capital stacking process has helped me personally, and it's personally allowed me to get access to XYZ, blah, 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 right? Then, next section, this is where we really stack social proof. So social proof is often overlooked in VSLs because people think, oh, it's just about getting the mechanism across. But you really want to tie everything to proof of previous clients that you've gotten results for. And I actually just got hired by a marketing agency to work with them and just sort of help them scale their offer up. I did a call with them this morning, and what we were talking about is your business should revolve around, if you don't have a core sort of result you've gotten for a client, you don't have a really strong case study you can base things around, that should be your priority, right? Because the rest of your business is built on that bedrock of here's how you can cut through the market's noise, because this person who's in a similar spot as you are, their ideal client, we were able to get them this result, and that result should be really, really good and really impactful, so people are wow, I want to get that same thing, right? So addressing your legit, showing social proof, also the sort of dream life living, right? So introducing, kind of breaking the ice a little bit. In terms of the clients that are listed here, just for privacy reasons, I'm not putting their actual names. If you really want to find this VSL, it's not that hard to find. The industry is pretty obvious. But anyways, these are people that are recognizable by the target market, right? Names that people would recognize. So if you're in the fitness space, or let's say you do marketing services, if you helped Kino Body, right? He's a big fitness brand that's well known for having been grown well, right? Well, I worked with Greg O'Gallagher at Kino Body to get him these results. Or let's say you're in the BizOps space. I worked with Iman Godzi, right? Someone that they'll actually recognize, big names that can give you credibility and attach their credibility to you. And then the mission statement, right? This is what we want to do. We want to allow you to have this lifestyle because it's allowed me to have this lifestyle, right? Where you go from the actual tangible thing to the more sort of overarching less financial stress is what people want from the service, right? The ability to grow their business with less financial stress. Then we loop back to the mechanism, right? So after you've established the mechanism, you've shown proof of it, now you need to go back and sort of dive deeper into what this looks like, because what you don't want is people coming onto your call not understanding what your service delivers or how it looks, right? For people that need to do, people will say in the closing space, information gathering is a fake thing, that's just an excuse, it's an objection. People legitimately need to gather information before they make a decision. It's not a smokescreen always. Sometimes it is, right? They may have enough information and they're just just send it over in an email. But outside of the actual objection handling, mental judo that you would do to get around that, which is good and it's important, you can pre-handle a lot of this stuff by actually answering their questions beforehand. So the person comes in and they know what you actually have to offer, and they're like, hey, how would this look for me? I saw you guys said you do this. What does this actually look like in my instance? That's what you want your closing calls to have, not a situation where you're just trying to get across a bunch of information and get it across in a 30-minute to hour long period, right? It doesn't give your salesperson enough time to actually do their job, which is to get the person across the line, right? And so that's why we're diving deeper into this, right? People say like, oh, you don't need features. You need the features so that they understand how it gets them the benefit, right? Features and benefits is often overdone in copywriting, but it is important in the sense of people need to know how the product actually benefits them. So the connection is feature, right? The actual aspect of the product, benefit that feature gives them, right? This should be very brief. This should be, a little bit less brief. And then tying to the outcome. How does that benefit get them to the outcome? That's how you want to structure things in your copy. Also, pillars of a mechanism, great way to frame a VSL, right? We've got 3 main pillars that our offer revolves around. This way you can simplify it. It's easier for people to understand, and they can almost visualize in their mind like 3 columns, right? Like and title them in their mind, right? You want to use visual language. And then timeline, people want to know how long it takes to get like this to work for them. And then more social proof, right? Just continuing to slide social proof into your VSL so people have no doubt that you're actually going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. So actually diving into this a little bit, like the specifics. So first off, this is a powerful question, right? How can I get someone who's started a completely new business with no revenue more funding than someone who's been making money for 5 years, which is supposed to be easier to fund, right? Well, it's through capital stacking. It relies on these components, right? Now you're educating your prospect. Then these are basically the parts of the system behind how you actually do capital stacking, which is Patrick's process, and what it allows you to do. So it kind of gives numbers, talks about what that process looks like, talks about the timeline, and then here is a really, really nice line where it says, once this is installed, you don't ever have to think about it again. Just send a message to one of your contacts at your 6 lending institutions, and you have the money wired to your account the same day, right? It's getting them in this sort of dream state of, man, 12 months from now, if I need $100,000 for this project, boom, send a text to my VP relationship manager at the bank, because I've already done, this company's already done all the work, they've gotten me funding, I've used it well, I have instant access to money whenever I need it, right? And this is all true, too. It's a really, really cool offer. It's one where most of these funding businesses, like, you have to go to the funding business, they have to go through the same, 30 to 90 day cycle to get you funded. With this process, they literally install a done-for-you funding system where every single time you need money, you don't have to keep paying Patrick's company. It's all done for you the first time. You get the money, you don't have to worry about any of it, but then it's as simple as a phone call or a text, and you're able to get access to the money. And I want to emphasize that because most of the other offers in the space don't offer that. That's what you want to do with this, by the way. You want to heavily lean into how you differentiate from the other people in the space and how your offer is stronger, different, better, right? Then we start to lead them to limitations, essentially, right? Like, why can't they do this themselves? Add urgency and kind of repitch and restack the value, right? This is where you can also add bonuses. What you're doing is you're removing the objection of, why don't I just go to this myself? Hey, let me figure this out a little bit more on YouTube first, and then I'll come back to you. That sort of thing, right? And then you're adding urgency for them to book. If you recognize this mug, you have a good taste in TV shows, by the way. Anyways, basically what you're doing is you're restacking the value, you're adding the urgency, and you're getting people to actually take action, right? So yeah, here's where we do that, right? Simple to manage, right? Easy once you have it, but not as simple to implement, right? I think that's a really good line, because it's like, okay, if I just get this installed, one phone call will get me 100K wired same day. But right now, I have no clue where to get started, right? And then it's asking the question, do you have the time to take the time to figure this out? Probably not. Now, what if we just instead did it all for you, and then you get this result? And then I'll personally do it for you. We'll be able to get you it for a fraction of the price of these other companies, which will allow you to no longer have to stress about this. And once this is all done, getting money is super easy and effortless, right? You're just kind of reselling the dream there. And the funny thing is, I always tell people this, like, people are like, oh, don't sell the dream. You shouldn't sell like the dream if it's not true. But in this case, it is. If you have really, really good results, which Patrick does, his fulfillment's dialed in, then you want to emphasize that. Like it's genuinely the dream if they get the product, right? So that's why I always say build your business on the bedrock of a really, really strong case study, right? That's your foundation. All right. Now the next section, more of a value stack, show how it solves potential problems they're worried of, and then what it looks like to work with them, and then reemphasize, like, hey, this is fast, this is efficient, this is easy, right? And then you're going to go into how many people you've worked with. With this specific offer, and then by the way, this is like my core VSL structure, but that I use for like multiple offers, but sometimes I tweak it a little bit. As you can see here, this section's a little bit shorter. If I were doing like a biz op or like a marketing system installation offer or something like that, I would dive a little bit more deep and a little bit more technical, but this audience cares less about the technicalities because it's generally a less sophisticated audience in the sense of, yes, they're sophisticated in the sense they're like, business owners, but you can really overcomplicate this market because people don't understand almost anything about funding 90%, 95% of the time. Like credit is something, it's sort of like taxes. Like everybody deals with it, but they have like a very, very vague, like sort of head in the clouds idea of how it works. And most people are incorrect in how it works. So I don't want to add too much information here and risk people being like, wait, that's not what I thought. And then like, keep them from doing the goal, which is to be indoctrinated and book a call, right? Then call to action, right? Basically explain the call to action. Don't say, hey, hop on our sales call, like obviously, but you're basically asking them to do that. By the way, typo there. And then you dive into your risk reversal, right? Which is basically reasons why there's no risk to like book a call. The only risk you can take is not taking action, right? So let's at least let us show you how we can do this for you, right? There's no pressure. Basically make them feel like, okay, there's no downside to at least talking with their team, right? And then stacking social proof, really good results. And then reference to branding, right? Hey, if you don't believe me, go look us up. And then final call to action. And it's as simple as that. So a lot of people overcomplicate, the actual VSL writing process. They don't understand like, where to start. But really what it comes down to is having a strong core offer, right? Some proof of it. And then you literally just copy and paste what I did there. You'll have a very, very solid functional VSL for your offer. And you just use slides and click through them, Loom style, as you explain your offer, right? And your VSL should be anywhere between like 7 to like 12 minutes is what I like. Some people prefer longer. That's fine. I prefer to keep my VSLs a little bit shorter because I want people to be able to consume the entire thing without, just clicking off, right? I want them to also be engaged. It needs to be entertaining, but also get the value across, right? So that's the core of a VSL. Hopefully this is helpful in terms of understanding how to structure it. I don't like to overcomplicate it too much. If you like the video, leave a like, subscribe, because I'm going to make more videos like this, kind of diving into different things I've done for clients and I've used in my own offers. And yeah, I hope you guys got value. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.